Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's where I started my podcast. It's where I edited my podcast. It's where I put sound design into my podcast. And it's where I monetize my podcast. And it's from where I share my podcast to every single other podcast platform. It's the place that I decided is the easiest and best place for me to podcast. Thank you. Check it out. Welcome to Chris Cast Season 2, Episode 14. This is all about my experience with coronavirus and with the vaccination and with the jab and with my personal experience with that and how I decided to get the jab and the steps that I went through and the surprising things that didn't happen to me over the course of the 15, 16, 17-month coronavirus since from the beginning to now, which is, mid to late June 2021. All right. Talk to you in a second. Welcome back to Chris Cast, Season 2, Episode 14, Coronavirus, vis-a-vis Chris Abraham. My name's Chris Abraham. This is Chris Cast. I like to say that I do this all the time, but it's been 2 months that I haven't done it, and it's because that I've been grumpy Chris, because I've had various and sundry body injuries that are just lame. Like, they're not cool. I talk about it in my previous episode. One was a pinched back nerve. One was a bunch of scalding hot oil on my foot, my bare foot. And the third one is sciatica. Sciatica! Anyway, on to the coronavirus. So my very last time out playing with people was with my friend Zandria, and it was the 10th or 11th of March 2020, and we met up at tapas at hey Google, what's the tapas restaurant in Crystal City? Hey Google, what's the tapas restaurant at Crystal City?
Jaleo. Here you go.
Jaleo. Yeah, it was Jaleo's in Crystal City. And I was with my friend Zandria, and we were drinking. And I hadn't heard much about the coronavirus, to be honest with you. Maybe something in Washington State, maybe something in Wuhan. But nothing much, right? But not long after that, everything closed down, which didn't affect me much at all because I am a monastic, I am a capitalist monk, I'm monastic, I am a ascetic, I'm just that kind of guy. My company's virtual, my relationships are virtual. Most of I do go to cafes, but I'm not a social butterfly. I don't have any wives or kids. I have a bunch of ex-wives who I've never gotten married to, and I love them very much. But I've never been married, so I don't have any kids. A lot of my friends don't live locally, and a lot of my friends are freaking paranoid about coronavirus. So my closest friends are extremely bought into the narrative of coronavirus. It doesn't matter what the statistics are. It doesn't matter the low infection, the low sickness rates, the low death rates. And they don't understand. They don't care much about the way people are diagnosed with cases and what cases mean versus actual sicknesses and all these other things. Like, there's a lot of politics at play, and until last month, I held held back. I didn't do it. My former business partner, Mark Harrison, got it. My current business partner got it. And if it weren't for them, and they nagged me a lot, they nagged me, and they know how to nag me. They know that I only respond to sugar and carrots and not to vinegar or sticks. So they finally got through to me, and I finally decided to get the vaccine about a month ago. But I waited until then. I waited until the J&J vaccine was allowed back into the United States, because it was being held off for a while for reasons of blood clots and so forth. So I did indeed wait until J&J single dose coronavirus vaccine was made available. But up until then, for the last year before then, I had been going almost every day to Idito's Coffee and Social House, and all I needed to do was wear a mask there, find a place to sit, take my mask off, and have a completely normal experience. Ever since I've given up drinking, which was on the 11th of March, the day after I had my last big brouhaha with my friend Zandria, the day after my heart was going into AFib, I was suffering. I said, "This is it." I've checked everything. I've checked coffee. I've checked everything, and the only two things that give me AFib are any type of drinking at all, and an AFib, if you want to know, is a heart rate where your heart isn't going in normal sinus rhythm. It tends to be a da-dump, dump, da-dump, bump, bump, and it's variable, and it can result in blood clots because your heart is not pumping fully. It's like a load of different things can result in from having AFib. It is a form of heart failure, is a form of heart disease. So I decided that everything was going so great in my life with regards to the treatment I've been getting from the people at Nova and the people from Virginia Hospital Center and all that other stuff, is that it was not worth it for me to have a bottle of wine every couple nights. You know what I mean? And so I decided to stop doing that. And so ever since I stopped drinking, I've stopped going to restaurants, right? Because I'm a pretty good cook. And the only reason that I really go to restaurants, like restaurants, is when I want to have dinner at the bar, I want to have a couple margaritas, and I want to talk to the bartender and that kind of thing. Like, it's sort of like a lifestyle thing where I go to, since I'm a singleton, I go to restaurants with bars, and I go to the bar and I have my bar experience. And, so I just haven't had any desire to go to bars or restaurants, and so the only thing that I've been doing is going to cafes. And believe it or not, Starbucks was open for a while. You just needed to wear a mask until you were sitting down, and then even they closed because they had a case. A barista had a case, so. It ended up the only place that I could go is either in my own apartment or to Idito's. And so I went to Idito's almost every day, and it was fun. It was good. I got really close to the I want to say cast, to the staff there, and I was eating lots and lots of green salads, and it was really fine. So in many cases, because of my lifestyle, because I have a virtual world with virtual friends, virtual communities, and a virtual company that can rely heavily on people that I haven't seen. I haven't seen my business partner in person in a decade. And I've never met my staff. My staff lives in India. So based on that, I was not affected at all. In fact, it gave me better excuses. I didn't need any excuse for why I didn't feel like socializing or going out or doing this or that. makes me sound really antisocial. I mean, if you know me, to know me is to love me. But yeah, what's the term for it? Ascetic? I don't know. Hey, Google, what is the big museum in St. Petersburg, Russia?
Sorry, I don't know how to help with
Hey,
that.
Google, what are the museums in St. Petersburg, Russia?
Hermitage Museum. On the website nationalgeographic.com, they say...
Okay, I'm a hermit. The only association my brain could make was to the Hermitage Museum. My apartment is a Hermitage Museum, if you will, if you like certain things. So I didn't get it. I didn't get it March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and then I got it, let's see, what day did I get it? I got it exactly on, my wallet's somewhere else. Well, anyway, I guess I could find out here. Here we are. No, that's Dan's. Dan even got his, my business partner, Dan, even got his on March 2nd and March 30th this year. So, here we go, May 23rd. So, it hasn't been even a month yet. It's been 28 days. So I got my J&J vaccine at the pharmacy at my local Giant on 9th Road South in Arlington, Virginia, South Arlington, Virginia, Penrose Square. So the pharmacist named York, Y-O-R-K, she asked me if I wanted Moderna or if I wanted J&J, and I just decided to get J&J since I'm already on blood thinners for my AFib. So I did that, and I don't even know. Like, did the jab cause my sciatica? Did the jab cause? I don't know. I doubt it. I have a history of it. I've had it this bad before. So, but with all the terrible things that have happened or have been happening to my body over the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I can't even tell what the effects of the COVID vaccine, the coronavirus COVID-19 vaccine, would be on my body. I mean, so I guess it's been 28 days. So technically speaking, I'm vaccinated. So let's all hug each other. Anyway, in my previous podcast, my previous episode, I talked about how frustrated I've been with lower back pain, and then with a third-degree burn on my foot from stupid oil splattering on my foot while I was cooking, and then to this sciatica that I'm suffering through now. I'm so desperately sad about it. I'm happy about my sinus rhythm that my heart is having. That's good news, and I'm happy with the way things are going with my company. That's good news. I'm going to see my cardiologist tomorrow, my specialist electrocardiologist tomorrow, and I can show off my heart that's bumping correctly. And alles klar. So anyway, so I'm vaccinated, but I was hesitant. I didn't see the statistical reason to do it. I saw that the potential side effects were worse than the experiences that I was having by just not taking it. Every single rational bone in my body, if I detached myself from propaganda programming and this confluence of Anthony Fauci as Jesus and this concept of science being some sort of excuse for doing something, even after removing all of those deeply skeptical feelings that I had, not based on being conservative or libertarian, but just based on looking at the numbers for half a second, right? Seeing the fact that people die every day, people die of old age, people die of chronic illness, people die of the regular flu, people die of suffering from pneumonia, people die, and so bringing attention to people dying is, I believe, a political stunt. Attributing everything to coronavirus and every death to coronavirus is a political stunt. I believe that if you peel away the political stunt from the actuality, and if you separate actual coronavirus deaths from so-called cases, which, based on testing procedures and is a little suspect, then 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Like, it didn't seem to me that I was in any real proximate danger. It didn't seem to me that it made any real sense, and it made and just the idea of a messenger RNA vaccine was so sketchy to me in a broad way. I mean, I've seen mRNA treatments being used very specifically for people with different types of cancers and so forth, but I haven't seen, and I think they're gaming the numbers, they're playing with the numbers, they're misrepresenting the number of people who get injured from the vaccine. There's so much to be skeptical about, but I don't have any dog in the fight anymore because I got my first and only jab of J&J, Johnson & Johnson vaccine on the 28th of May, which is the 23rd of May, which is, almost 30 days ago. And so I'm good. I can virtue signal now. I don't have to be accused of anything. I'm not a monster. I'm not a villain. I can have my own thoughts about it as to whether or not I think someone who's a 21-year-old woman should get it, or whether I think the 21-year-old Chris should get it, are entirely different things. I'm an old horse. I'm out to pasture. I know I'm only 51, but I'm not a vigorous 51 at the moment. So I thought, well, it appeases a lot of people. What's the risk? And I'm being highly and completely looked after by the medical system. So if something really bad happens, I trust the treatment that would be available to me. And so right now that I got the vaccine, here's my takeaways. I do not judge people who decide not to get the vaccine. I do not judge people who do decide to get the vaccine. I do always judge people who are complete mad hats and completely psychobabble and absolute meme carriers who cannot stop talking about this, that, and everything else as if this was remotely, a vaccine is not remotely a panacea. And I am of the position, if I wasn't a virtual person and if I didn't, I honestly, Dan and I did better during the coronavirus than we did the year before. So it's because of a lot of decisions I made in terms of where I look for business, but it didn't hurt my last year. Because I don't have kids or a wife, it didn't hurt that. It was a net zero, or even a positive 5 in terms of that year. And I think that closing the economy for 15 months was a terrible mistake. I believe that is going to have longer lasting ramifications, and I believe that because Americans in any Western democracy, because we're such squiggly squids, this whole concept of big bring back better, build back better, BW3 is going to not work because people are going to forget quickly. People are going to feel like people are not going to feel like that they were held, that they stayed home to protect others. They're going to perceive it in 2020 vision. They're going to perceive it as being held hostage, and they're going to act like they do. They're going to act exactly like the daughter of a pastor. They're going to feel like for the first 18 years of their life they were restricted, and now they're going to go out and the first thing they're going to do is sign up for TikTok and OnlyFans, right? There's going to be a huge sexual liberation. This is going to be the summer of sex, and people aren't even going to care that they're all lumpy and bumpy and that they haven't gotten back in shape after the coronavirus. They're going to have lots and lots of sex, and they're going to have lots and lots of fun, and it's going to be crazy, and there's going to be a lot of shootings and a lot of killings because people take guns to parties because there's testosterone in parties and clubs, and because that's the culture, and it's not a gun thing, because that's certainly, killing people is not a gun culture thing. Killing people is a crime culture thing. So it's going to be a wild next 2 years. It'll actually be more destructive by and large. It's going to be slower breakdown because we didn't have a bubble burst, but there's going to be more ramifications towards the health of the Western democracies, including North America, Canada, and the United States, from this self-delivered injury than from 2008, 2007, from the financial crisis. This is definitely, I mean, look at this. You're seeing, no matter what they're calling it, and even though they're calling it temporary, I lived through the 70s. I was barely sentient, but I was there, and it's really hard to rein in. It's a delicate game to rein in interest rates, or there being a inflation. Once it started, once inflation started, once supply lines are broken, like there's going to be a lot of bump. There's going to be a lot of what is it called when your engine, there's going to be a lot of, what's the term when you have a single cylinder motor and you're at the wrong rev and the wrong gear, called lugging. There's going to be a lot of lugging associated with the economy going forward, and I don't know, it'll probably be for years. And it's going to be, and there is a coordinated desire to build back better, and that build back better is probably based on a template more like Denmark, or more like Germany, or even a little bit, not even like Great Britain. Great Britain has its own sort of eccentric socialism, but Build Back Better is going to be a lot more like Germany, where, Germany smells in the summer because people refuse to flush the toilets because they're so committed to a better tomorrow. Even though when I lived in Berlin is the wettest city in the entire world, like short of Portland, and yet people refuse to flush the toilets because they're afraid of wasting water. Like, the German people have such an ingrained concept of organics, of bio, of not wasting, of the opposite of consumption. And even though they produce all of the luxury brands in the entire world, short of French and Italian luxury brands, when it comes to something with a motor, they own and rock everything. And conspicuous consumption and the purchase of automobiles and motorcycles, I mean, and even watches and everything else, they behave one way when it comes to their economy, but things are completely different when it comes to the way they behave, and they have Build Back Better. They are actively anti-racist, they're actively anti-fascist, they're actively anti-waste, they're actively pro-environmental, they're actively anti-GMO, they're actively, at a certain class, they're actively vegan and vegetarian. And so as a result, I believe that Build Back Better is going to be a movement towards making America sustainable and definitely more woke. And we'll see if people are willing to do that. Let's see if being woke and being and having and getting your liberties back are going to. What's the thing? Hey Google, what is Rumspringa?
According to Wikipedia, Rumspringa, also spelled Rumspringe or Rumspringa, is a rite of passage during adolescence, translated in English as jumping or hopping around, used in some Amish communities.
There you go. This is going to be America's Rumspringa. Rumspringa. I'm going to have to share that on social media because I think that's going to catch on. But it's a niche thing, right? Not everybody knows what Rumspringa is. So, and you know, I'm not Amish. Google's asking me if I'm Amish. No, I'm not Amish. Anyway, so that's my take. My take is if I did not receive 8 months worth of constant, actually, hey Google, when was Pfizer vaccine?
Sorry, I don't know how
hey,
to
Google,
help with that.
When did Pfizer vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine start?
Here's a summary from the website fda.gov. On December 11, 2020, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration issued the first emergency use authorization for a vaccine for the prevention of coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2.
January, February, March, April, May, June. Well, I only took 6 months, but I wouldn't have got it at all were it not for the peer pressure by Dan Kruger and Mark Harrison. And honestly, they had, and the fact that I wouldn't lie about something like that. I could have just told them that I got it. I could just tell anybody that I received it. But I don't lie like that's not the kind of lies that I do. I don't do like straight on lies. Like I had a friend named Nicole Wilson who loved to go to bars and lie to men. Like she could not go to a bar without completely lying to men about what her name was, about where she was from, about what her first language was. That was her biggest joy. Of course, she was incredibly hot. I mean, like super hot. And I guess super hot blonde girls with blue eyes and little tiny noses can do that kind of thing. But that's not my vibe. My vibe is I have to live a life that's at least interesting enough to have a half an hour conversation with someone about. I held to that pretty well until my last company fell apart, and I think I did a good job with it. Since then, I had amazing motorcycle trips and that kind of deal. But right now, my life isn't extremely interesting. So once I get past all these illnesses and sicknesses and injuries, man, I really got to change my way. Hold me accountable to this. If you wait long enough in this frickin' podcast, man, I'm going to make the next podcast about this. I'm going to have to make a bunch of commitments to all y'all, and you need to hold me accountable to them. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. I'll come back with all my 411, and thanks you very much. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey, Season 2, Episode 14, Chris Cast. My name's Chris Abraham. These are the closing credits. My name's Chris Abraham. You can reach me at chrisabraham.com. You can have a meeting with me at calendly.com/chrisabraham/15. You can reach me on social media at Facebook, Chris Abraham, Twitter, Chris Abraham, Instagram, Chris Abraham, LinkedIn, Chris Abraham, linkedin.com/in/Chris Abraham. You can email me at chris@abraham.su. You can befriend me on No Agenda Social, which is at Chris, or if you're in the Fediverse, at chris@noagendasocial.com. I have a new Substack that I need to continue working with. It's been a few days since I posted, and that is chrisa.substack.com. And of course, this is my podcast, which you can find on any place, Chris Cast. You can find it on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, etc. And it is, I think, anchor.fm/Chris Abraham, if I have that right. Let me see. I should have made it Chris Cast, right? I should have changed it to Chris Cast, but I care more about, I think I care more about my personal brand than I do the name of the podcast. So I think it is /Chris Abraham. That's it, I think. Oh, if you want to reach me via the various and sundry texting tools, I'm +1 202 352 5051. So that can get you onto me on Signal and WhatsApp and Hangouts is chris@garriscorp.com and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's it. I think that's it. I will talk to you soon. Season 2, Episode 15, which is about metanoia. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.